When did you think he would retire? And if he hadn't passed in 2001 with the accident, how many more years do you think he had left?
Richard and I had that conversation.
Yeah.
I think he's within a year.
You think so?
Or two, yeah, at the most, because I think Dale wanted to go out on his own terms. I'm not the one to be the judge and the jury on any of that. But Rich and I had conversations about it. I know they had conversations. And I think, at 49 years of age, I think he would have probably given another year or two at the max,
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? I mean, you think he?
I think it was pretty close too. Yeah, I think I think we all kind of knew the time frame was right around that 50 number.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was just wanting to go out on positive terms and do the things that on a positive note, because they had put a lot of effort into the car. We had tested it a lot in 2000 and had everything squared away. And really that's part of the reason that we were able to get in that car the next year and be able to
car was very
run
Very
competitively right off the bat, because General Motors and RCR and Dale and just everybody had said, okay, we need to, it's getting towards the end here, but we can't go out not running good. We can't just go flop around. And so they had put a lot of effort into the cars and the program. And I, like I say, I think after Dale died and we were able to go out and run good in those first few weeks, it's because that everybody had put so much effort in, and we had been in the car a lot. So, but obviously everything happened at Daytona in 2001. And were you guys there?
I was there, and I don't know if you were there at that race, but
I was there at the race.
A lot of people don't know this, but on Thursday afternoon, I flew in, and that's when they were covering the practices on Friday and back in the day. And so when I got there on Thursday, he called me and said, "What new hats we got?" We had the Realtree souvenir rig there, and I said, "I don't know. Let's call Chris." So Chris Williams ended up bringing 3 or 4 hats, and so Dale and I and Chris went through the hats on his motor coach, and Teresa was not there when we were looking at hats, but he picked out this one particular hat. It was solid black with a camo Realtree number 3 on the front. So he said, "I'm gonna wear this one all weekend," and that was Dale's way of saying, I'm gonna show you products off. And we had the Realtree souvenir rig out there. So he had that hat, and he kept it all weekend, and he wore it. He did a ride around before the 500 with Terry Bradshaw, and so he had that hat on. And so that was I think they filmed it on Saturday, and it aired before the 500 on Sunday. But that Sunday morning, I get a call, and it's from Dale. He said, "Come over here, motor coach." And he and I walked into the track together. And so one of my good memories is walking through the garage, and coming through the starting grid, just me and him. And we were talking about turkey hunting. Of all things, we had that annual trip, it was in February, and our season opened up in the middle of March. So he and I walked through the starting grid, biggest race of y'all's, career being the Daytona 500. And we talked turkey hunting coming through the grid, and stuff. And so when we got to the race car, I went off to the right side, and Teresa and Taylor were on the left side of the car, and he went obviously to them, and I started talking to Dale Earnhardt. Danny was up there at the car, and as you know, I know a lot of the 3-car members that became a lot of your crew members after that. But I sat over there on the other side and didn't think anything about anything. Just another Daytona 500, and I can remember looking across the car back at him. And they had the track chaplain there, and they said a prayer, there at the window. So Danny and I were sitting there talking, and then, of course, I went on to our people, the suite, not thinking anything, was going to happen. But that was my last moments with him. And, I tell Tyler this. I was probably, I'm going to say, one of 5 or 6 last people that had a chance to visit with him before he got in the car that day. So it's a good memory for me to just share that part with him and, coming down the track, but talking about turkey hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's really the common thread that you've had with so many people in our sport. It's not just myself and Dale and Dave Marcus. I mean, for a number of years, you had group hunts that we went on that were
fun
as anything that we ever did. And really every year that we go to Talladega for the most part, at some point we're going turkey hunting at Realtree Farms. And so, I think that is not a surprising conversation that you and Dale were having. And I think as people hear this, they're gonna have more questions, and they're gonna understand that outdoor bond that you guys had was probably something that a lot of people didn't understand.
Well, I can say this right now, even with Tyler, but you and I have that bond.
Yeah.
You and Tyler have that bond.
Right.
And the outdoors really probably put that bond even closer together between the Harvicks and our family and Bobby Bonnie. We talked about Bobby earlier, and and Terry was just that common interest of enjoying the same things. And you guys have life away from the track, and I was very fortunate to be able to hunt with you, and you go and hunt with us, and it kind of clicked with you. We had so much good times together elk hunting, and still will.
Hey, race fans, thanks for watching our video. For all NASCAR on Fox News, content, and the best clips from Fox Sports, be sure to follow and subscribe to our channel.